Welcome back to my channel. Oh my god, hi. It has been a minute because I'm in like a weird funk. I don't know, it's not really even a weird funk. It's me being an introvert and going into my little shell, okay? It's that plus current hyperfixation is taking over my life. I've already talked about it, but I am heavily obsessed with Stardew Valley right now, which is a video game if you're unfamiliar. My hobby primarily is reading currently. I spend like usually it's every evening reading a book, curled up on the couch while my fiance's in the other room playing his video games or whatever it is he's doing. But I don't know, I complained one night like, man, I haven't been hyper fixated on something in a while, which like is a little sad because that obsession and like living and breathing and dying and whatever else for something is like a fun, intoxicating type of thing about ADHD. I don't know if it's healthy to have hyperfixations, but like I somewhat enjoy having hyperfixations. So I complained about it and I'm like, I don't really know what to do right now. And he's like, play Stardew Valley. And I was like, I shouldn't do that because I know I get obsessed with that when I get into it. But I did it and it's taken over my whole life, like I said. So I have just, it's all I can think about. It's all I can like consume content about. It's all I want to do. It's exhausting, you guys. Like yesterday, I was on my way to work and unexpectedly there was a massive pileup on the, like not pileup, but like backup on the highway, which is weird. I never have like any traffic going to work because I live in the middle of nowhere. But like I was stuck on a 1 mile section of the highway for an hour. It was awful. So to entertain myself, I had my Pinterest open on my phone, like in my lap, because we're not moving. And I'm like looking up different Stardew Valley layouts and inspiration and everything. And that's like the thing that I did that whole hour. It was insane. And that's just a little glimpse. And it's also like I'm bringing it up with people I'm talking to in my everyday life. They have no idea what this is. They're like confused. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm sorry. It's like all I want to do. I'm trying to like just get through the day to get home and play the game again. Like it's absolutely unhinged behavior right now. So yeah, I haven't been wanting to create content because all I want to do is consume content about Stardew Valley. It's insane. Anyway, I'm a little bit early for work today. I mean, not really, but like so I'm a consultant dietitian nutritionist, so I go to different hospitals or healthcare facilities that the company I work for has contracts with. So I bill my hours, like I log my hours for the company I work for and they bill the facilities or whatever. On my hour log, it's like you're supposed to round to the nearest 15-minute, and I'm like a little bit before a 15-minute increment. So I'm like, I could chit chat with you. I could say hi. We haven't talked in a minute, so hi. Yeah. What do we have to, literally brain is blank except Stardew Valley. It's starting to get to the point where it's grating on me. Like I feel like sometimes hyperfixations, when they're so obsessive like this, they do hit the point where it's like, I'm so annoyed with myself right now. Like I'm not gonna stop, but I'm getting irritated. So I think we're starting to hit a phase where it might die out soon. Maybe. I thought that about a week ago though, so I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, I only have one place to go to for work today, but I do have like a lot of like things to take care of work-wise. While I'm here, I mean, so my job, the main role I have at any of the hospitals or facilities I go to is nutrition assessments on the patients. So, that's tier 1 importance when I get in the door. Like see who I'm referred to give education to, or like who's at nutritional risk, who has things going on like significant unintentional weight changes or appetite changes or abnormal BMIs or food allergies or other dietary things going on. That's tier 1. I figure out who those people are. Here it's kind of a combination of word of mouth from staff, but primarily it's supposed to be like an official referral is placed that is electronic and I can see it, which used to be a big issue where it like wasn't happening, but I feel like I've completely turned that around and I don't know why I didn't do this earlier. So I was so irritated because this is what I consider my main place for work, and it like has the most work for me to do. It's the biggest hospital I go to. It's an inpatient children's psychiatric hospital, and like the census, or like the amount of patients, is by far the largest out of everywhere else I go, which is why it's my main thing, because it has the most patients, the most work, whatever. They didn't have, they had the system, but they weren't using it. They didn't have a good system being implemented where I was getting the referrals formally. So what I was having to do for years, so irritating to think about now, is go through every single patient that's admitted since last time I visited, and like go through every little detail about them to figure out if they're at nutrition risk, and then if I should be assessing them and giving them interventions, education, whatever. Like, it was so tedious, and it was causing so much extra work. There's a very simplistic solution to this, and I finally, like, I brought it up to somebody that I thought might have a clear answer for me, like, why is this not happening? Because the way it's supposed to happen is whenever the person is admitted and goes through the like onboarding admission process, they go through a few steps, and whenever they're speaking with their nurse initially, they go through an admission assessment, and this admission assessment is like a very long thing. Unfortunately, we use paper charting, so that's what I'm going to refer to. It's the bane of my existence. I literally hate it so much. But they have like an 18-page assessment that they go through with the kids. There's a different one for adults, but it kind of includes a lot of different risk screenings and other items. So my nutrition risk screening, I say it like it's mine. It's not. It's on the nursing admission assessment, but there's a section of a nutrition risk screening that is somewhere in the middle of that assessment, right? So whenever they track, it's like its own little section. Like, it has its own little section. It's very clear. Like, this is, we're talking about nutrition now, and then we move to something else. If there's any risk factors at all that are shown in that risk assessment or like screening or whatever, they're supposed to enter an electronic referral for me, and that just wasn't happening. And I'm like, what the heck? So I was having to look in each physical chart, and that was part of the tedium of like, I have to calculate their BMI, I have to see if they have food allergies, I have to like look at the nutrition risk screening, I have to do this and that, and like their intakes, and like I was doing an assessment on every patient. It was insane, which is fine if that's the policy. Like, I have another hospital I go to where like I do assess every single admission within the first 3 days of them getting to the building. But like I said, this is by far the highest census place I go to, like the place where I see every single patient. Well, actually it's more than one of them, but the places, they have like maybe 12 patients total. Like, this is a lot more. So it was insane. I was doing an assessment on every single patient for some reason. And even if I wasn't formally making the assessment, I was basically doing all the work to do an assessment other than speaking to the patients, because if they didn't have a risk, I'm like, okay, the end. But anyway, so I was asking somebody like, how do I fix this? And she gave me the recommendation of like, I would find out who's doing that nutrition screening on that nursing admission assessment, and I would specifically call them out, like ask them if they were aware of this, like educate about how they're supposed to do it correctly. And I was like, that is so smart. And she actually advised me to like tag their bosses, which I've been doing, and I feel a little bit bad, but the bosses know what's going on. They know that this is something I've been complaining about for forever, and they haven't said anything negative, and I don't think I'm getting anyone in any trouble. But anyway, so I started doing that, where I would email everyone at the end of the day if I saw like, this nurse had X, Y, and Z patients that they showed they had nutrition risk factors, but they did not give me a referral. Or like, they didn't catch this trigger, even though it was like something obvious, basically. I would point that out to them. So I have like a template that I was using, and I would just like copy and paste the details and send it out at the end of my visit. And it used to be like I was sending so many of these emails, which is why I made a template, because I'm like, I don't want to type the same nonsense over and over and over and over. I was sending so many of them every single visit for a long time, but it was like less than a month later, I haven't had to send any of those emails yet in like the last couple of visits I went here for. So that's been exciting. So I think I've resolved that issue. I don't remember what I was talking about. I don't know how we got here. I don't feel like my ADHD pill has kicked in yet. Interesting. Don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, my first thing that I'm going to be focused on when I get inside is seeing who I've been referred to see. I do still try to lightly screen to see if things are still getting missed. because like I don't think I would get in trouble if like the assessment wasn't completed on time because I didn't get a referral for it, but like I just don't want things to get missed. So I still lightly kind of check some stuff, but if I'm like frazzled and stuff, then like if I missed something, it's not really my fault if no one told me that I had this something to do. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. But okay, that's my like main thing I have to do. I have some other tasks going on right now. I should go inside because now I'm on the other side of that 15-minute rounding. Well, not really. Like I'm still in it, but I'm on the other, like I'm a little late now. I'm always late. It's fine. Yeah, I'll let you know what goes down. It goes down in the DM. Oh my God, before I leave though, I don't think you can see, but literally, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I grabbed a bunch of stuff that I need to donate out of my house that was just sitting in a closet and it was long forgotten. I put it in my car and it's still in the back seat. And it's been rattling around and like irritating me since I put it there, but I just haven't stopped somewhere to drop them off. So that's cool. That's fun. I'll go blind to it eventually, and deaf to it, I suppose, since I can hear it rattling around. Oh my God, I almost forgot my name tag. Oh my God, my name tag situation is a mess. Okay. I told you it was a mess. Okay. Toodles. My dog is under the table and she thinks I'm eating, but I'm not. So she wants some food, but I don't have any food. Hi, I didn't check in with you after work yesterday. So this is the next day. It's Thursday. Come here. Here, let me show you the dog. She's being sassy. Why's your tail down? You know, I did plan on letting her outside. She loves hot weather. She loves when it's sunny like it is right now. And she lives to sunbathe. So she was laying under the table though while I was showering because it's... I'm sorry, what? Do you see the kibble on the ground? I'll try to point over here. What in the world? Okay. Well, anyway, she was sunbathing before my shower. So while I was showering, she hung out under this table. Oh my God, it's dirty because that's where she goes to cool off. So I thought she was fine, but you can see how she just went from 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds. So I guess I gotta let this dog out to sunbathe some more. Okay. Okay. I turned a light on, so hopefully it's a little bit better in here. I don't know about the angle. You're literally just like on top of my laptop. I don't know. I just didn't feel like holding you. I didn't want my arms to get tired. Okay, she's outside. She is laying on the rug, sunbathing. She's gonna go rot out there. At some point, I'm gonna start getting anxious and I'm gonna put a bowl of ice water that she will ignore out there with her. That's what I'll do. But anyway, let's recap. So yesterday, oh my God, I forget what we talked about before, but I know I was telling you like my main role is seeing who I have nutrition referral consultation requests for and going and assessing those patients. And I believe we kind of chit-chatted about how this particular building I went to, they have recently gotten a lot better at actually implementing, like inputting those requests for me. That wasn't the case yesterday. I don't know what happened, dude, because whenever I was going through everything, I was figuring out like which nurse missed what, and it wasn't the same nurse for every patient that was missed. Like it was different people for everybody, but like I think I had 2 referrals, right? I'm trying to remember. I've slept since then, so like I'm not gonna retain any of that. Just kidding. I'm a little migrainey today. I've been a little bit migrainey, like it feels like every day this month. I don't really know what the heck is going on with me, but maybe I just need another cup of coffee. But I just brushed my teeth, you know? So I'm not really sure what to do. Okay, anyway, I don't really have a clear view of what I did yesterday, I could literally pull it up. My laptop is right there. I could turn it on and go see my RD summary report, because at the end of every visit, I have like a summary of all the patients I assessed and like what my new recommendations or what observations I have, or like if I have no idea what I was just about to say. I guess like if I would like summarize what education I covered with them or whatever. I don't remember. I have no idea. But anyway, I think there was like 2 referrals for like whatever reason. But then I noticed there were like several that didn't get referred to see for me to see, which is not good, because I forget if we talked about this, but this hospital is paper charting, and one of the processes they have is while they're doing their like admission paperwork, there is a form specifically for dietary communication, and it kind of summarizes some of the main points. So it's like what the patient's name is, what their diet order is, usually regular, if they have food allergies, and there is a section for them to check off if they requested a dietitian consult, and then the patient can put their food likes and dislikes and all of that. Anyway, this is a redundant form because there are so many places where the exact same information is placed. So like I've been kind of wondering why the heck it exists for literally since I started. And I've been kind of fighting to either change it or like use it in a different way or get rid of it. And finally, like I think it was the end of last week, the director of nursing, we just kind of ran into each other and she's like, can we get rid of this like now? And I'm like, yes. So anyway, like I said, there was a lot of information on there that's redundant, but the problem is this is the way for me to be kind of like notified of who all has been admitted. And in an imperfect world where they're not implementing those like dietitian requests for a consultation, I don't really have a clue of like a starting point. I'll have to like, I don't even know what the best, I kind of have an idea of how I can mitigate this in the future without those forms, but like that was the easiest way, because then I'm like, I have a stack of people, I need to look at their charts to see if they are at nutrition risk and a consultation was not ordered but should be done. Now I don't have that starting point, but I think I can think of a better way around it. But basically this was a problem because we're starting to not have those forms anymore. I think almost everybody still has a form that's been admitted lately, but it's starting to taper off just because change can be slow sometimes. So like, I think the director of nursing told everybody, but like maybe it got missed and certain nurses are still doing it or like whatever, I don't know. Anyway, there were a couple of people with food allergies, and this was what was more concerning to me because the other stuff like doesn't entirely matter. Like I would hope that even if somebody has some nutrition risk factors, either they're not actually like super duper significant. Like for example, almost all of our adults come in and say that they've had an unintentional weight change recently and they have a low appetite. But then I either don't ever get any more like weight history or data or anything to review, so I don't even know if they're telling me the truth about their weight, or I do have weight data and it's actually not a significant change. That happens all the time. I feel like I just moved you, I'm sorry. I don't know if I did. And then the low appetite, I'll look in their like meal intake records and they're eating 100% of every single meal. So I'm like, this is so dumb. So anyway, I mean, it is what it is. They probably did have some sort of weight change, or they feel like they've had a weight change, and they probably did have a low appetite before they got here. Like, some, I don't know, like it's all legit, but it's a little funny because it's like never actually a real problem. So I'm hoping if there are things that are missed, they're kind of like that, where it's things that aren't an actual real issue, is what I hope would happen if something is missed. I don't know where I was going with that. I should probably take something for the migraine symptoms, because I think I'm more foggy than I was aware of. But anyway, okay, back to the actual issue at hand. So there were a few people that did have nutrition risks, and most of them actually had food allergies, which we take very seriously. And the kitchen is like highly involved and like has good protocols for food allergy stuff. Like they know what to do. And we have a lot of systems in place to make sure they're aware when a patient has a food allergy and like what they might need to change or redirect and like what they need to know about. There's a lot of things in place for that. However, step 1 is super duper important of them being told that there is a patient that exists that has a food allergy. Now, these forms were always really reliable, but they are getting like tapered out, right? These forms were very reliable because it was very consistent that accurate information was put on there. However, kitchen was only going around and collecting it once a day. So if someone came in the middle of a day or like after a meal or something, like they still have a buffer time before they'll be aware of it, if that makes sense. But we do also have an electronic system that should be updated immediately whenever there is any sort of change or when somebody is admitted. So there's an electronic system, and there is a whole section for food allergies, and there's like a whole specific screen view that the kitchen department has in the kitchen area that they can update throughout the day to see if there's any changes like that. And this should be the best, most efficient, effective way to communicate with kitchen about these things, other than like directly communicating with them with like a phone call or something like that, which I would love if that happened, because as I'm sure you're already suspecting, there's issues with this system right now. It's frustrating because I've tried to get on this before and I thought it got resolved, but then all of a sudden it's like things fell off again. So I don't know exactly who's supposed to be responsible. There's a couple of different people involved in the admission process, but essentially anybody can update the allergy information on this electronic system. Well, maybe not everybody, but like anybody who should be able to is able to and should know how to already. But for some reason, there's sometimes certain staff, I suppose, that aren't adding that information on that electronic system, and I'm having to go and like manually do it myself, which is fine. But I could take up to 72 hours to assess a patient, and that could be 9 meals later. So if somebody's like highly allergic to a certain food, they have a risk of being exposed to it 9 meals in a row without like kitchen being even aware that it's a potential issue, unless the patient says something when they're in the cafeteria line. So like that's obviously a major significant risk, and luckily we don't have issues like that because there is a lot of systems in place, like I said, but that's the first step and it's not always happening. So I had to like kind of not get on to people, but I had to kind of nudge a lot of people because there were several patients that had food allergies yesterday that I didn't get a referral for, and they didn't list it on the electronic bedboard system, so kitchen would have had no idea. Luckily, they were like super duper low risk food allergies. Like one of them was red food dye, which is something that we kind of see recurring. And kitchen in the past has kind of audited everything to see what foods they have on hand that have red food dye. And I believe we're down to like 1 or 2 snacks total. Like everything else is red dye free. So that is super duper low risk. Like there's only 1 or 2 things that might need to get swapped out for a snack. And like we have a snack menu cycle. So they're not going to be potentially introduced to whatever that thing or to 1 or 2 things are consistently. Like it might only show up once in a 2-week period, basically, if that makes sense. So like that is a super duper low risk situation. And then we also have, dude, I'm so annoyed. I ran out of storage space, so it cut me off. And I was just talking to myself for like a million years, but I looked back and where it cut me off, I freed up some storage. Where it cut me off, I was talking about red food dye allergies. So we're gonna move on from that. The other like good example of something that did get missed was this is a recurring, like a recent readmission. So like we already know this patient. So luckily, even worst case scenario, kitchen would probably recognize them when they come through the cafeteria line and be like, oh, I remember there's something about you. So luckily, I would imagine things would not be worst case scenario. But anyway, we have this process where whenever there are severe reactions to peanuts, or if we're not sure exactly, but it says nuts, we have peanut butter like throughout the unit. We have them as always available snacks for like the makings of a PB&J. For some of our scheduled meal like snacks or whatever, we have like fruit and peanut butter or like celery and peanut butter, stuff like that. We try to reduce it because it's a little irritating what I'm about to tell you. I think our trash is getting collected right now. I lost the plot. Oh, whenever we have severe peanut allergies, we do pull all of the peanut butter and peanut containing products. And for like the peanut butter, we have sunflower butter as a backup plan, like an alternative item, which is generally like an allergy friendly alternative. It's a popular alternative. I personally don't like love it, but I also am like a peanut butter fanatic, so I'm not surprised. I've had it before though. Like, it's not the worst thing in the whole entire world. But anyway, we have that whole system in place, and obviously peanut allergies are somewhat common. So a lot of our, especially like longer term residents, are used to seeing that swap happen. Like if we can't have peanut on the unit, they're used to seeing sunflower butter. So at some point, this particular patient in the past reported a sunflower butter allergy, or specifically a sunflower allergy, which is like highly unusual. And there's always like that question mark of like, do they just not like it, so they're telling us they're allergic? There's always that possibility. But we did get like parents involved, and we called them up just because it was a longer term resident at that point. So, you know, we didn't want to have to deal with this without that like final check basically for like a long period of time. So we checked with parents, and mom kind of justified it. Like, she kind of backed it up and said like she was kind of suspecting that was a thing, or like there's family history of something like that. I don't know. Anyway, mom approved it basically. So we honored it, obviously. Better safe than sorry, even if it is just like a dislike. Oh, it's not gonna show me my whatever it was. But anyway, that person came back, and there was no listing of any food allergies or any special dietary like things at all. And this particular patient is also vegetarian. It didn't have to say anything about that. We don't have a like procedure for that. I just like to put it on the bedboard when I know about it, just so kitchen can kind of like keep that in mind when they're planning how much to cook for a meal. Like, oh, we have like 7 vegetarians, we better make more of the vegetarian entree than not like normal, because it's definitely going to be getting used. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's a good point of like getting some context for them. So like that doesn't really matter, but the sunflower butter thing wasn't listed. So I was like, that's annoying. But luckily we don't have any current peanut allergies, and haven't in a little while, knock on wood. So it wasn't going to present itself as an issue anyways. And also hopefully it would have been like, we would have had that recognition even if it did come up. That's kind of just thinking positively though. But anyway, I had to kind of like nudge some people like, hey, why didn't you do this? This could have been an awful outcome. So I did get some like follow up from, I forget if it was the director of nursing or like the nursing manager, but somebody did follow up with me, and she's like, thank you, Casey. Like, hopefully we get better with this in the future. I'm like, yes, hopefully you do. I don't know. I forget what I talked about after that, because literally I talked to myself for a million years. But I was thinking about some of my other projects I had going on, and kind of the main one that I'm kind of like still thinking about is whenever the patient's discharged from the hospital, they go through a satisfaction survey to like tell us about their experience and like what didn't go well, what did go well. And the specific like food satisfaction score went down significantly, whatever month that was. So the person in charge of like I think the acronym's PI, but I have no idea what it stands for. Performance and improvement or something? I don't know, whatever. There's a person that like is in charge of all of that stuff, and the satisfaction surveys and different procedures like going correctly. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm saying. But she reached out to me, and she's newer to the hospital, so we hadn't like spoken a lot yet before we started getting together about this situation. She wanted an action plan for how we're going to resolve this and increase our score. And I was like, I have no idea. Like, I'm not smart enough to think about like what the heck you're asking me to do. So we kind of like went through a week or two of like trying to figure out how to get everybody on the same page, how to do something but not add a lot of extra work, because I really had a fear that if there's a lot of extra work, it's not going to happen because I'm not there every day, and they're already so busy, they're already like scrambled, they're already not able to take on too much extra. Like, it's just not gonna be and I don't want to be the bad guy of like, hey, you have to do all of these extra things now because we have to do this for that, and like I didn't want to have to deal with that. So I tried to find a way to minimize any extra work. And finally, as of yesterday, I've proposed something we can start next week on Monday. So that's exciting. So I wanted to have surveys handed out to all of our patients during meal times, ideally. I don't know, I'm still waiting feedback on like what nursing and the kitchen manager think about that. But techs on the floor with the patients, I keep wanting to say kids, but there's also adults, with the patients will kind of monitor the use of writing utensils and everything for safety and collect them at the end so that we don't have any issues. So ideally they get them during the meal. They can fill them out during or after they're done eating and then turn them into a drop box at the end. And I created the survey, so it's actually quite involved. I'm not really sure where we want to fixate our focus quite yet, so it's very open-ended right now and we'll tailor it down eventually. But I have like a satisfaction, it's actually using emojis, so like how much did you love this versus like how much did you hate it, so like the texture of the food, and then there's like the super smiley heart emoji all the way to like the like devastated emoji, so they can like pick one. And I've, in my mind, because I have to make this numerical for the PI person, I've assigned like 1 through 5 score so we can get a percentile outcome at the end of that survey section. And it touches a bunch of different aspects of what could potentially be the issue, from like the quality of the food, the portion sizes, like the environment in the cafeteria, the interactions with staff. Like I tried to include as many things as I could think of. And then there's a separate section where they can write out long form answers that will hopefully give us more context. And I'm really excited to see what we find from that. But my vision is that we're gonna do it 3 times a week, the 3 days I visit, and I'm gonna try to hit different meal times. So like each week we'll have breakfast, lunch, and dinner at some point so that we can kind of start tapering down into like, is it a specific meal or is it like a specific food item that like they hate, or like turkey or something? I don't even know what we have that has turkey, but like, is there something specific going wrong? But I have to start from like big picture to taper down to that. Yeah, so I like found a drop box. I found some supplies we can use. I printed out 100 copies of the form. Like I did all of the things and that's all set up. So I'm very excited to hear feedback on that. But I can't remember what else we chatted about. Anyway, what I'm gonna do now, other than check on my dog to make sure she's alive out there, is I have another hospital I have to do some work for today. So they have this like trifold menu that they give to all their patients, right? And at first I was asked like very vaguely, like, can you fix the menu? And I'm like, I have no idea. And this isn't even a hospital I was like frequently going to at the time when I was asked that. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But this week I got to get together with that particular kitchen manager and see what the issues were and what she was hoping to get changed and all of that. And so I am going to get to work on fixing this guy up. I already know that I have a like electronic file that's similar to this. I don't have this exact like trifold situation, but I have like a document that has stuff listed out. So hopefully that's gonna be a good starting point. But basically for our different diets, this is just kind of scrambled. Like we have little hearts. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see, but there's little hearts next to the items that the patients are able to order if they're on a heart healthy or a cardiac diet. And then we have numbers next to some of these items, and that's the carb count, like how many servings of carbohydrates, theoretically. I haven't like gone through this to make sure it's exactly accurate, but theoretically that's how many carb counts are in that particular thing. But it's like, it's scrambled. It's kind of confusing. So I've been asked to see if I can like separate things out, like have a cardiac section or like a cardiac menu, have, you know, other kinds of menus like on separate forms, and then like the whole collective menu. So I'm gonna get to work on that now. Very exciting. I'm gonna take some painkiller first though, because I am very foggy. I'm gonna take some painkiller. I'm gonna have some caffeine. I'll chat with you whenever I remember to. Oh, also wait, the other thing on this is it literally just says food items, and we want to add serving sizes on this too, because that will help, again, just clarity of like, what am I going to be getting when I order this, and also for like all of the staff to be on the same page of like, what is the serving of this or that, you know, like anyway, that's all for now. Toodles. Oh my god, girl. Hi. Yikes. Can you see me? The lights are off again, so sorry about that. Also, I gave Kyla an empty-ish yogurt cup, so if you hear noises, that's what's going on. I finished the menu thing. I don't know. I wasn't really totally sure what direction to take it, but here, I don't even remember if I told you what I was really doing. I don't know. I did kind of give you like a little intro to it, but basically, we wanted to switch up the menus that are given to the patients once they're admitted to a room. So I took all of the notes and I put them directly onto the PDF because I didn't realize I had an electronic PDF. I was way overcomplicating it. So I added all of the notes with like highlights and extra text onto a PDF that they sent me, and put some suggestions, ideas of how we could reformat it, rearrange it, etc., reduce some of the clutter. And then I have one draft made that's like one of our therapeutic diets there, and then some other therapeutic diets I do have ideas about, and I think those ideas were suggestions both on the PDF and in the email I just sent a little bit ago. Oh, I also added serving sizes to everything on the menu. They didn't have any, and that was something that was requested, so I did add that also to that PDF in a different color of text, just so like they knew where to look for what. I don't know. So I will eagerly await their feedback. I don't know when I'll hear any follow-up, but for now, I'm gonna be done with it until I get a little bit more context if there was something else they were looking for, basically. So now I've moved on. I'm doing a bunch of other random nonsense of a remote work today. Okay, I don't know. I had some trainings, like annual trainings that are mandated for all of their staff. And it's not even a building that I go to frequently, but I did get an email reminder that things are due at the end of this month. We're in the middle of June right now. So I was like, I might as well do that. So I went through and did that, and it was just like basic stuff, like infection spread control situations and like different safety things, and a reminder of what all of our like codes mean if there are any emergencies or whatever. I don't know. So I did all that, and now I'm doing some electronic charting in preparation for tomorrow, because Fridays are pretty heavy days on my schedule if I were to actually do all the work that I'm scheduled on that day to do, if that makes sense. I don't think it does. But I'm going to do as much chart. Is there yogurt on my chin? What's going on? What do I feel? I feel a dry patch. Hello? I should probably make myself look all cutesy later. Although then again, I'm not going anywhere. What do I need to look cutesy for? Don't know. What? I'm doing as much charting as possible for 2 hospitals because I still have my main place I go to tomorrow. And the workload's been slightly lower there just because we have a lower census in the summer, like less patients come in the summer. So that should be light-ish workload, I hope, but there are a lot of like pending projects right now, like I kind of have been chatting about. So I don't know exactly what to expect from that work day, but I do have 2 other hospitals. So another one of them is also an inpatient psychiatric hospital, but much lower census, like way less patients to deal with and like help, not deal with, but help. So I was just checking in to see, because sometimes if there aren't patients that like need any nutrition education, like there aren't significant nutrition risks going on, I will just do it remotely unless there are any like trigger risk factors or people that could use some education or whatever. Then I'll make sure I visit. I also have a weekly group session I do, so I was hoping that most of the people from my weekly group session earlier in the week were still here, but like they've all discharged and it's all new people. So right now I'm in the midst of going through and reviewing each of their charts, because this is one of the hospitals that I do assess every single patient, and there's actually quite a few new patients compared to normal. So I'm going through and reviewing all of that. I'm already a little irritated. I said that word, irritated, because I'm on my first chart and this patient doesn't have a height and a weight listed. And this is like the worst. This is like a recurring issue I keep noticing, and I don't know why it's happening. But I hate having to remind people, like, please log the height and weight, because somewhere their height exists, because in the nursing admission assessment, an ideal body weight is calculated, which you would need a height to calculate. So I don't know how they don't have a height listed, but they do have an ideal body weight calculated. Because it's not the same ideal body weight for every patient that doesn't have info. It's different every single time. So there is something they're pulling it from, but there's no recorded height and weight. Sometimes I'll see it like not entered in the right place, but it'll be like in the middle of their admission like note or whatever, but that hasn't happened actually in a really long time. They haven't done that because I always check if it's not recorded, like maybe they typed it somewhere. I haven't actually seen that in a long time, but this is kind of like, this is the one issue that I run into with this hospital, is that for some reason, sometimes on admission, patients' heights and weights don't get recorded. I may be just being obnoxious. Like perhaps this person was experiencing psychosis or something, or like very symptomatic or something, so they weren't able to obtain those things. That's totally possible. So I'll shut my mouth just in case this is a fluke and like an actual legit situation like that. But it is just a bad omen that I have a bunch of new patients to review and I'm missing some like critical information for the first person I'm looking at. So that's really cool. But after this, I'm gonna go ahead and like enter in a full assessment note for all of these patients. And I'll just like have kind of some leeway, like some head start information for anyone I'm able to visit tomorrow and speak to, because then I don't have to do a full assessment. I just enter a follow-up note because I have all that background information. So it'll just be quicker basically. So I'm gonna go ahead and do all of the charting that's available, accessible right now. And then I'm gonna probably do the same thing for another hospital, the one that I was actually working on menu stuff for. That's another one that I plan on visiting tomorrow. But if there's no referrals and there's no like, I don't know, significant things going on, because I haven't really been going there like consistently enough to figure out their nutrition consultation system, because technically we assess all of the admissions, but they do have an option to specifically give us a referral for some of them. So I haven't like totally figured that out, but I'm trying to like feel it out and see what the easiest best practice will be. But I've been told if there's no like significant nutrition things going on, I can do it remotely. So we're going to kind of play it by ear. Once I'm wrapped up with this task, I will log into the other charting system and either go ahead and enter all of my notes remotely or like prep all of my notes for any consultations I have to do tomorrow, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm doing now. That's what I'm doing. And it looks like Kyla's done with her yoga. I do need to walk her again soon. We shoot for 2 to 3 walks a day, but she's been sunbathing a ton today. So she's honestly kind of wiped out. So maybe we can get away with not doing as much exercise. I'm not sure. But anyway, I do think I had an extra cup of coffee. Well, actually, did I even finish this coffee? Oh, okay, I had half of an extra cup of coffee and my painkiller, and I do feel better. I'm definitely not 100%, but the pain is like almost not noticeable at this point, and I don't feel incredibly foggy. Like I feel like I have some semblance of clarity, so that's nice. I also got some housework stuff done. I didn't really have to do the laundry, but I went ahead and did it specifically to get our blanket that goes on top of our bed, because Kyla jumps up on the bed with us and she is a hairy girl, and sometimes it gets very, very fuzzy and furry and comfy. So it was due to be cleansed. So I specifically did a load of laundry to get that blanket, but I also did whatever other clothing we did have. It wasn't a very big load. And I will try to, well, do I need a vacuum? Maybe not. I might be done with my housework. I might have just done laundry. Maybe that's all. I mean, I guess I've done dishes and stuff throughout the day, but anyway. I don't know. Toodles.